If you are someone who is like so many others who are currently in kind of a challenging time in their lives, then stay tuned. I have some questions for you that you may want to ask yourself so that you can start to find your way out of the struggle and discover a better life. This episode of AMYTV is brought to you by our friends at BetterHelp. Good morning, good life. Welcome back to AMYTV, where we come together to help you go after the life you want. If you are an ambitious professional ready to create your own success and discover the productive lifestyle, then I hope you'll subscribe to this channel. I make new videos to help you out with that every week. Something I find to be the most frustrating during a time of struggle is feeling like it's very limited as to who you have to talk to. If the conversation is going to start with us, which, let's be honest, it is. There is an internal conversation going on, whether we like it or not. Then why don't we try to make it a little bit more productive? We can tell ourselves a story about what's going on, and we can believe that story, or we can start to flip the story on its head a little bit. And that is what I'm hoping the questions that I share with you today that you can think about, you can ponder, will be helpful with making you see the opportunity in reshaping the conversation. And quite frankly, the conversation must get better, right? Because it means we're more likely to be happier rather than anxious or nervous or discouraged all the time. Hit the like button on this video if you are ready for some good questions and ready to reshape the conversation. Question one is a simple one. How do you want to feel? This has recently been an epiphany of mine as I've done some of the internal work that needs to be done when I'm going through a challenging time. And quite frankly, I don't know that I ever really knew to ask myself this before the last couple of months. We wake up, we feel a certain kind of way, we're sad, we're upset, we're worried, and we don't think maybe we could choose a different feeling if we wanted to. Or if we didn't want to feel like that anymore, what would we choose if we could change it? And the reality is we can change it. It's within our control. It seems hard, right? It seems impossible most of the time. We can always see something around us or next to us or someone who's saying something to us that would indicate that now is not the time for the fanciful feelings that I would love, because I need to take out my negative rage on this situation. But we don't have to. We can choose something else. So what are the feelings that you would feel? Is it a couple of them? Is maybe there's 3 of them that are your go-to? Maybe those are the feelings you can remind yourself of when you're not feeling that way, and remind yourself, hey, I could choose to feel something else. The second question is inspired from Tim Ferriss. When I heard this one, I just thought, oh, what a great question to get real with yourself. How am I complicit in creating the conditions around me that I say I don't want? Ooh, doesn't that hit you in the belly like, oh crap, yeah, that's on me. It's very easy for us to look out at everything we could blame, but we could also look at what we would want to blame and ask ourselves how we are contributing to that situation, not just how it's getting to us. So if we don't like our job, we can say, I hate my job, but you're the one keeping the job, right? So how are you complicit in that condition, in that situation? I think it just really reminds you, just like you can choose how you want to feel, you can choose some of these conditions that you've convinced yourself you are stuck in. Question number 3 is from a book called The One Thing. And I think this is a good one for those of us who feel really overwhelmed, those of us who are overachievers and kind of like love being overachievers, but also realize that it takes away from our actual productivity on a daily basis. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? I love this one because it reminds us of how much we actually do that is unnecessary or is just an extra thing we added to our plate without actually considering what it would do to our day or do to our well-being. If you could do one thing that wipes out a bunch of other things, what would it be? Especially if we're interested in the productive lifestyle, right? If we want to be more productive, it's not about having more things to do. It's about having the right thing to do that moves us forward toward a goal. So what is the one thing that you could do that would make everything else easier and unnecessary? On that note, let's take just a second so we can thank the sponsor of this episode of AMYTV, and that's our friends at BetterHelp. Do you feel like there is something that is eating at you, something that is taking away from your happiness, maybe creating stress in your life? Is it preventing you from being a better version of yourself, from achieving your goals? I don't know about you, but anything I can think of on this list is always going back to negative self-talk. It's always going back to scarcity mindset. And every time I think, this is holding me back, this is a circumstance that I don't like, this is a condition I would not choose, I know that there is a root issue that starts here. This is why when I need help, I call on BetterHelp. BetterHelp actually assesses your personal needs and matches you with your own licensed professional therapist who you can start communicating with within 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. This is professional therapy that's done well and securely online. BetterHelp's therapist network of over 20,000 individuals also provides a broad range of expertise that you might not find in your local area. Plus, their service is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your therapist and then receive timely and thoughtful responses. When you head to my link at betterhelp.com/AmyLandino, you will join over 1 million people who have taken charge with their mental health with an experienced professional. You'll also be able to enjoy a special offer for AMYTV viewers, which is 10% off of your first month. Again, that link is down in the description below. Our next question that's gonna help us during a challenging time: where can I let go in my day a little bit? One of the things that we forget when we're calendar blocking and we're trying to be productive is that some of that is to allow space. And space is easy to let go of and not even plan for because we have so many things we think we have to do, or we actually think maybe we want to do. But even the things that we want to do, getting those things done feels so much better if we felt like we had the space and the time and the creative mentality and the happiness to do them the right way. So you may not feel like it makes sense to plan for space or plan for time to just stop and pause, but this is among the most important things that you could do. One simple way to do this is to make sure you're getting enough sleep. That sleep time is so critical, and that's actually time you can let go a little bit more of your day. You're letting go of your day by adding an hour to your sleep. And how amazing is that to think of how productive of a move that would be? The fifth question I think that we could all ask ourselves to have a more positive conversation is, what do I know for sure? I love this question. I'm pretty sure it's a book I read in the past. I can't think of it now. Actually, it's probably called exactly that, what I know for sure. But I like this question because it is supposed to remind you of the difference between truth and confabulation. We're all pretty familiar with the word truth, but we can be reminded of what it actually means by knowing what the word confabulation means, which is a lie that has been told truthfully. And this is what we really mean when we say we're doing some storytelling with ourselves. We tell ourselves a story after we have a weird encounter with someone. We tell ourselves a story when suddenly our perfectionist selves show that we are not. We tell ourselves a story when something happens that wasn't supposed to go a certain way. We tell ourselves a story the way someone talks to us, even though we're the ones deciding how they've spoken to us. How they've spoken to us may not have been delivered in the way that we took it. This confabulation, this storytelling, is preventing us from knowing the truth. The truth may be someone speaking to me. The truth may be a car accident happened. The truth may be I posted something with a grammar mistake. That's the truth. Everything else that we tell ourselves and storytell around that truth is potentially confabulation. So I think this question is great because when you say, what do I know for sure? Just identify the truths, the actual facts of a situation, and then stop storytelling altogether and just say, well, that happened. Okay. It's so much better to put that conversation to a stop when you just identify what actually was the case. Question number 6 is a good one because I think it reminds us of why we got started down whatever path we're going in the first place. And that question is, what are you doing when you feel in your element? This is what I think triggers someone to realize they've discovered their passion, right? You feel in your element. Even if you screw up a little bit or you fail, it's no big deal because the process is so exciting to you, or just doing it or immersing yourself into whatever it is makes you feel so good that even the result might not matter to you in the end. The journey is just that good. So what is that thing? What is that action? What is that activity? What are you doing when you feel in your element? And how often are you doing it? Or maybe something that used to feel was very in your element no longer feels that way anymore. That's okay. What does it feel like now? And are you doing too much of what used to be you and isn't so much anymore? If we don't spend enough time in our element, we don't really feel like ourselves, or at least not our happiest selves. And the final question I have for you today, number 7, is among one of my favorites. This is another one inspired by Tim Ferriss. I actually write down a lot of questions that he says on his podcast or something because I just think they're so thought-provoking. What would this look like if it were easy? We've asked a few different iterations of this question thus far, but it's just the snappiest. Like, it just gets to the point. What would this look like if it were easy? Just the normal things that we have to do throughout our day. Maybe some kind of work-related task or home-related task or errand you have to run, anything. Just before you do what you have to do, just saying, what would this look like if it were easy? It really makes you think about, is something necessary at all? Could something be done by someone else? Is delegation something we can think about here? Or maybe I'm adding too many steps to that process, and what actually has to happen is just this piece right here. Us perfectionists, we really fall into this camp a lot because it's like, okay, when I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it all the way. So your task list of one thing is actually a task list of 88. And that's not what it would look like if it was easy. Perfect is the enemy of done. So to be done, how do we get there the quickest, the most effective, but the quickest? And that's why I love this question. Well, what would it look like if it was easy? This is where I think real creativity happens because you start to let your imagination work. Remember when we used to daydream? For those of us who grew up without a smartphone, that's imagination to me. And that's where I think we could go, the place we want to be when we know what success looks like. And if we were to pave the fastest, straightest line to that destination, then this question helps us to see that so much more quickly. What would it look like if it were easy? And let that make you just like feel a little bit lighter. Even if it maybe can't be the case, at least you know that you have options. What questions would you add? I especially love the idea of using some of these as a journal prompt, maybe to start your day on the right terms. So if one of these questions is good, which one did you love the most? But would you add a different one to the list? What would help you if you're trying to get out of the mindset of the struggle? Leave that in the comments down below. That's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. Remember, subscribe for good vibes, kiss the ones you love, and go after the life you want. Cheers. I hope this was a helpful video for you. I've made some others that might also contribute to the cause, a little bit about negative mindset and how we can work against that in a more positive direction, a couple tricks on how to be more positive. Click and watch and check it out.